Ethan and I had been broken up for exactly 3 months, 7 days, and roughly 12 hours, down to the minute. It wasn't because I was heartbroken, but because that man owed me an explanation. Our relationship ended with a few cold words and a text message. "We're not compatible. Let's just stop." After a blazing argument over some ridiculous misunderstanding, there were no phone calls, no meetings. He simply vanished from my life like a ghost, leaving me with a mountain of resentment and a shredded heart. Ethan Coe, my ex-boyfriend, was a true old fox disguised as a CEO. He was 5 years my senior, with a sophisticated appearance straight out of a finance magazine, but inside, he was dark, inscrutable, and unpredictable. After 2 years with him, I thought I was the hunter, only to discover I was merely a naive little rabbit in his forest, toyed with until I was dizzy. Tonight, as usual, I was in my standard post-breakup slump. Lounging on the sofa, face masked, watching some mindless entertainment while ranting about Ethan to my best friend, Annabelle, over the phone. Can you believe it? Today I scrolled through my feed and saw a photo of him at a party with that conniving little green tea who caused trouble for me the other day. I scoffed. They looked disgustingly like a CEO and his little secretary. Annabelle burst out laughing on the other end. "Come on, girl, men are like old clothes, easily replaceable. Let your little sister send you some study materials to boost your fighting spirit. I guarantee after you watch it, you'll forget that woman's name completely." With that, she sent me a link accompanied by a winking emoji, full of hidden meaning. Curiosity piqued, I clicked it. Holy hell, it was indeed heavy-duty study material. It was an 18-plus Japanese film, the kind with a proper plot, not just mindless action. The lead actors were sculpted beauties, the scenery was idyllic, but the intimate scenes, oh my. They were so bold and scorching hot that even a homebody like me found myself blushing crimson. "Well, is it top tier or what?" Annabelle texted, teasing. I watched, gasping in admiration. "It really is amazing." I fast-forwarded to a climax, where the female lead was in an incredibly provocative position. My blood was stirring, so I screenshot that exact moment. I planned to send it to Annabelle with a comment about future revenge and learning from the best. But life, as they say, isn't a dream. Just as I was about to hit send, a notification from my old work email popped up. It was a company-wide meeting announcement, and the sender was none other than Ethan Coe. His name appeared on the screen like a haunting ghost. And then, in a moment where my brain seemed to go on a European vacation, my finger slipped. The screenshot of the scorching hot film scene, accompanied by the caption, "Learning from this for future revenge," was sent directly to Ethan Coe's chat. By the time I realized it, it was too late. The delivered status quickly changed to read. Those two simple words were, at that moment, more terrifying than a death sentence. My entire body stiffened, blood freezing in my veins. The phone in my hand grew hot like a baked sweet potato. What the hell had I done? Sending a steamy scene to my ex-boyfriend, accompanied by a declaration of war that couldn't be more provocative. It's over. I'm completely ruined. My last shred of dignity after the breakup had just been personally thrown to the dogs. 100 scenarios flashed through my mind. Ethan Coe was definitely smirking. What kind of girl would he think I was? Promiscuous? Shameless? Or was I desperately trying to win him back? The more I thought, the hotter my face got, the more my ears buzzed. I flung my phone onto the sofa, tearing at my hair, wanting nothing more than to smash my head against the wall and end it all. The humiliation was unbearable. I was about to turn off my phone, severing all contact with the world, when the screen suddenly lit up. Ding, a new message from Ethan Coe. My heart felt like it would leap out of my chest. Trembling, I picked up the phone. I had braced myself for sarcastic remarks, contempt, or worse, a simple blocked. But no, his message was 10,000 times more cruel. It wasn't words, but a link. I stared for a few seconds, then shakily clicked it. It led to a movie review website. And the article displayed on the screen was a detailed analysis of the exact film I had just watched. And then another message arrived. The camera angle wasn't bad, but the female lead's expression at 34:12 was a bit forced. If you want revenge, you should find more professional material. Rem. I felt as if a bolt of lightning had struck my brain. He wasn't just not angry, not just not contemptuous, he calmly watched the entire film and then came back to lecture me. He was analyzing it like a professional film critic. What the hell was happening? This humiliation was more painful than 1,000 curses. It was like an invisible slap, both powerful and precise, striking directly at my pride. He didn't see my action as a provocation, but merely a childish prank, a lack of knowledge that needed to be improved. Hot blood surged through me. Ethan Coe, you're really something. Who do you think I am? My fingers trembled as I typed, anger overwhelming all shame. I replied, oh, really? So why doesn't Mr. Coe send me some professional materials to broaden my horizons? Immediately, a video call came through. It was him. My heart leaped into my throat, my entire body stiffened. Answer or not answer? My heart pounded wildly in my chest, the thumping sound in my ears even louder than the blaring video call ringtone. The phone screen flashed frantically with Ethan Coe's name, like a summons from hell. Answer or not answer? My rationality screamed at me to hang up immediately, even to throw the phone away and get rid of it. Facing that old fox now would be nothing short of suicide. But another voice, a voice full of defiance and resentment, whispered in my ear. What are you afraid of? You started this, are you going to run away now? Faye, you can't let him look down on you. Damn it, she was right. I couldn't lose like this, so shamefully. Taking a deep breath, I swiped the screen, accepting the call. But I wasn't going to be completely compliant. I only turned on the rear camera, pointing it at the blank, unresponsive white wall opposite me. I absolutely couldn't let him see my flustered, crimson-red face right now. A few seconds later, Ethan Coe's image appeared, filling the entire phone screen. My heart skipped another beat. That bastard looked even more devilishly handsome than before after 3 months of breaking up. He was sitting in his office, the backdrop a ceiling-high bookshelf filled with hardcover books, exuding an air of profound intellect. He wore a black silk shirt, the top 2 buttons undone, revealing a glimpse of his firm collarbone. His hair was slightly disheveled, a few strands falling across his forehead, and the warm yellow light cast mesmerizing shadows and highlights on his chiseled face. He wasn't looking directly at the camera. Instead, he held a glass of red wine, swirling it gently. He didn't look like he was on a video call with an ex who had just sent him a provocative photo, but rather like he was about to enjoy a fine film. Oh, you don't dare show me your face. His deep voice, laced with amusement, resonated through the phone speaker like an electric current running down my spine. Is there something you need, Mr. Coe? If it's just to critique my movie taste, I'm sorry, I'm not available. I tried to keep my voice as calm as possible, even though my hands were drenched in sweat. He chuckled softly. His deep, husky laugh always held a deadly charm. He put down the wine glass, finally looking directly at the camera. His deep, phoenix eyes seemed to pierce through the white wall, seeing right into my soul. I'm just answering your question, that's all, he said, his long, slender finger tapping lightly on the desk. You wanted professional materials, didn't you? So where are Mr. Coe's materials? I retorted, challenging him. What's so professional about a simple online review? A review is just an appetizer. He raised an eyebrow, a dangerous smirk playing on his lips. The main course needs to be experienced through practice. My entire body flushed hot. This beast, what exactly was he implying? I don't understand what Mr. Coe is talking about. I feigned ignorance. Don't understand? He scoffed. Then let me be clearer. You want revenge, right? But with your current skill level, I'm afraid it's not enough. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed over his chest, his gaze sweeping across the screen like a predator assessing its prey. Look, in that film, the female lead had a huge flaw. She was too passive. A battle where only one side attacks will be incredibly boring. My ears buzzed. He was seriously analyzing the actor's bedroom skills in a film with me. Ethan Coe, are you insane? I couldn't hold back any longer, I blurted out. I'm just helping you learn, he said, his expression utterly nonchalant, even a little benevolent. You want revenge, right? So who's your target? Which unlucky man has caught your eye? This question was like a knife plunging straight into my heart. Target? Who else but him could be my target? It's none of your business. I snapped. It is. He suddenly sat up straight, leaning slightly forward, his gaze sharpening. If your skills are too terrible, wouldn't that embarrass your ex-boyfriend, me? People would say I, Ethan Coe, could only get involved with such a boring girlfriend. Damn it, what kind of twisted logic was this? We broke up, what did it have to do with his reputation anymore? So, what does Mr. Coe want? I asked through clenched teeth, my anger reaching its peak. Very simple, he smiled, the smirk of an old fox who had already set his trap. I will be your instructor. I froze. What did he just say? An instructor. I'll personally teach you, he continued, his voice dropping to a dangerously captivating tone. From theory to practice. My mind went blank with a loud asterisk buzz asterisk. This man, he was even more shameless than I could have imagined. "You think I'll agree?" I scoffed coldly. "You will," he stated with absolute certainty, "because I have something you want." "What?" He didn't answer immediately. He picked up his wine glass and took a sip, his Adam's apple subtly bobbing in a captivating way. "An explanation for the breakup." Those 4 words exploded in my mind like a bomb. I fell silent, my throat dry. This was my fatal weakness, the bitter resentment of the past 3 months. The question why that haunted my thoughts every night. Ethan Coe, that old fox, knew exactly what I was thinking. He was using my curiosity and resentment as bait. "Well?" He looked at me through the screen, his eyes seemingly seeing through everything. "A trade. I'll give you the answer, and you'll show me your progress. Fair enough, wouldn't you say?" With that, he suddenly stood up and walked out of the camera's view. A few seconds later, he returned, having removed his black shirt. His perfect body, with its firm chest and six-pack abs, was revealed nakedly before my eyes. "This is the first theory lesson," he said, his voice husky. "A lesson on the male body." With that, he hung up, leaving me frozen, staring at the darkened phone screen, the image of his hot body still vivid in my retina. My entire body went limp, the phone slipping from my hand and falling to the floor. A familiar, searing heat began to surge within me. Damn it, this beast. He just gave me a lesson so brazenly. I spent a truly sleepless night. The image of Ethan Coe's hot, naked body replayed in my mind like an obsessive gif, making my whole body flush with heat and down there restlessly damp. That bastard, he dared to use a honey trap on me, and a live-action, full HD, uncensored version at that. The next morning, I dragged myself out of bed with dark circles under my eyes as big as a panda's. I tried to hypnotize myself. "Faye, you have to stay calm. That was just a cheap psychological trick. He just wants to see how you react. You have to ignore it, show him you don't care at all." I decided to completely ghost him. I turned off WeChat notifications, buried myself in cleaning the house, watching movies, doing everything to forget last night's theory lesson. But who was Ethan Coe? He was an old fox who never let his prey rest. Right at noon, as I was miserably eating instant noodles, the doorbell rang. I cautiously peered through the peephole. It was a man in the uniform of a high-end express delivery company. "Excuse me, is this Ms. Faye?" he asked. "You have a package that requires a signature." I was bewildered. I hadn't ordered anything. But when I saw the sender's name on the delivery slip, Ethan Coe, my heart leaped. What game was he playing now? I shakily signed for it, then carried the all-black box, exquisitely tied with a silk ribbon inside. The box wasn't large, but it was strangely heavy. My fingers trembled as I opened the box. Inside, lined with soft velvet, were not clothes or jewelry, but a set of handcuffs. Not the cold, standard police handcuffs. These were a pair of black genuine leather cuffs, lined with soft rabbit fur, connected by a short metal chain. They looked both a little dangerous and utterly captivating. Blood rushed to my head. "Ethan Coe, you?" Beside the handcuffs was a smaller box. I opened it, revealing a bottle of premium massage oil with a familiar, warm woody scent and a black silk blindfold. My mind went blank with a *buzz*. The meaning of this trio of tools was all too clear. At the bottom of the box was a card. His handwriting was as bold and unrestrained as his personality. "Homework for the first practical lesson. Bathe, then wait for me on the bed." Not a question, not a suggestion, just a command, a blatant imposition. My entire body trembled with rage. That bastard, what did he take me for? A toy for him to arrange as he pleased? Did he think that by simply dangling an explanation as bait, he could do whatever he wanted with me? I threw everything in the box onto the floor. I wanted to call him and curse him out, to throw these things directly in his face. But as the anger subsided, curiosity and resentment resurfaced. Why? Why did we break up? We had clearly loved each other so much. Was that misunderstanding really so serious that it couldn't be explained? And deep down, another feeling subtly crept in, a hint of excitement, a touch of anticipation. My body seemed to be betraying my reason. It still vividly remembered the times we were intertwined. It still craved his touch, his kisses. I still loved him. In my mind, a battle raged. On one side, my pride screamed, "No, you can't let him trample all over you like this." On the other, my heart and body whispered, "Just try it just this once. Get the answer, then end it completely." If I refused, I would forever be ignorant of the truth. I would forever be tormented by this bitterness. If I agreed, I would fall into his trap. Seconds and minutes ticked by, my hands and feet growing cold. Finally, I gritted my teeth, picked up the items from the floor, and stepped into the bathroom. After my shower, I stood before the mirror, looking at my reflection in disbelief. I put on a thin, black silk slip dress, the soft fabric clinging to every curve of my body. My long hair was left down, and I wore no makeup, opting for a completely bare face. On my wrists were the soft, fur-lined leather cuffs. I didn't lock them, just wore them loosely. I picked up the silk blindfold, hesitated for a moment, then put it on. The world before me plunged into darkness, and all my other senses seemed to sharpen. I could hear my heart pounding, feel the faint breeze from the air conditioner caressing my skin, making me shiver slightly. I sat on the bed, hands on my lap, back straight, waiting for my teacher to check my homework. Ding dong, the doorbell rang like a signal. The sound was sharp and decisive, like a gunshot shattering the oppressive silence in the room. Even though I had mentally prepared myself, my heart still skipped a beat. My entire body involuntarily trembled. He was here. I sat perfectly still on the bed, not daring to move. The silk blindfold completely deprived me of sight, but my hearing became strangely acute. I heard the faint click of the lock, then the door opening and slowly closing. Click! A dry, decisive sound, as if all my escape routes had been cut off. He didn't speak immediately. I could only hear his steady, slow footsteps approaching the bedroom. Each of his steps felt like it was treading on my nerves, taut as violin strings. The room fell silent again. I knew he was standing at the bedroom door, looking at me. Even though I couldn't see, I could feel his scorching gaze sweeping over every inch of my skin, from the flimsy nightgown to the loosely worn handcuffs on my wrists. "It seems you've prepared your lesson very well." His deep, husky voice suddenly echoed right next to my ear. I jumped. When had he gotten so close? I hadn't heard a single step. A familiar, warm, woody scent enveloped me. It was Ethan Coe's scent. It made my already tense mind even hazier. Mr. Coe?" I stammered, my voice trembling, unable to hide my panic. "Call me by my name," he commanded, his voice brooking no refusal. I bit my lip, staying silent. A warm hand lightly brushed my cheek, then glided down my neck, stopping at my rising collarbone. That gentle touch sent a jolt of electricity through my entire body. "Faye!" He called my name, his voice softening slightly, yet carrying a deadly enchantment. "You know what? You look a million times more alluring like this than the female lead in that movie." My face burned. This beast, he dared to bring up that movie again. "SHHH," he hushed, his finger pressing against my lips. "The lesson has begun. Students are not to speak without permission." His hand began to wander, slowly sliding down from my collarbone, brushing past the cleavage peeking out from beneath the thin silk, then stopping at my slender waist. He gently squeezed, pulling me towards him. I fell into his firm chest. Even with the blindfold, I could feel the intense heat radiating from his body against mine. "First lesson," he whispered into my ear, his hot breath making my earlobe tingle. "It's about focus. When you lose your sight, your other senses are amplified. Feel me." With that, his lips pressed against the nape of my neck, a wet, scorching kiss. He wasn't aggressive, but slowly nibbled and sucked at my sensitive skin. "Ah," I couldn't help but let out a moan. My entire body went limp, completely leaning against him. His kisses began to move from my nape down to my shoulder, then to my bare back. His hand worked in perfect coordination, slipping inside my slip dress, caressing every inch of my hot skin. "You're trembling," he chuckled softly. "Is it fear or arousal?" I couldn't answer. Both. I was terrified by his dominance, yet I couldn't deny the familiar surge of arousal in my body. Somewhere below, I was already becoming damp. "Let me see how your homework is." His hand slid down, touching the cuffs on my wrists. He took the metal chain and pulled gently. Clang! The sound of metal clashing in the silent room was like a stimulating catalyst. "Wearing it but not locking it, very clever," he complimented, but his tone was full of teasing. "You want to show me you're submissive but still keep an escape route for yourself, don't you?" He hit the nail on the head. "But Faye," he pulled my hand up, brought it to his mouth, and kissed my trembling fingertips. "In my class, there are no escape routes." Click, he locked the cuff. My two hands were now fastened together. "Ethan Coe, what are you doing?" I panicked, starting to struggle. "Quiet now," he held me tightly. "This is part of the lesson. You must learn to completely trust and surrender yourself to your teacher." He lifted me, placing me gently onto the bed. He picked up the bottle of massage oil from the table. He poured a little oil onto his hand, rubbing it gently to warm it up, then began to massage me. From my calves to my thighs, then to my hips, his practiced hand glided over my skin, both soft and firm, making every muscle in my body relax. The warm, woody scent of the essential oil wafted into my nose, making my mind even hazier. I no longer struggled. My body was slowly sinking into the pleasure he was providing. Relaxed now. Chuckled softly. Then let's move on to the main part. His hand, slick with massage oil, slowly, smoothly moved into my deepest, wettest place. Ah! I arched my back, an uncontrollable moan of pleasure escaping my lips. The slippery, burning sensation from his finger nearly drove me insane. He wasn't just simply going in and out, but teasing, provoking my sensitive spots. I was completely passive, only able to bite my lip and whimper, my body trembling with his every movement. Just as I felt myself nearing the peak, he suddenly stopped. The abrupt halt made me uncomfortable, twisting my body. Why? Why stop? I gasped, my voice hoarse with desire. I heard him chuckle. Today's lesson ends here, he said, his voice returning to its usual calm, though I could still detect the suppression within it. I couldn't believe it. He could actually stop at this moment. He bent down and removed my blindfold. The sudden light made me squint. Ethan Coe was standing by the bed, fully dressed again, only his hair was slightly disheveled, and his deep eyes still bore faint traces of desire. He could calm down so quickly? This is just the beginning, Faye. He looked at me, his gaze deep and inscrutable. I've shown you what it means to be passive. For the next lesson, I want to see how proactive you can be. With that, he placed a small key on the table, the key to the handcuffs. When you figure out how to proactively please me, come find me, he smirked. At that moment, you'll get the answer you want. He turned and walked away without the slightest hesitation, leaving me alone on the bed, naked, my hands still cuffed, and my body screaming with unfulfilled desire. Ethan Coe, you truly are a devil. I don't know how long I lay on the bed. My whole body was still tingling from Ethan Coe's touches, but my mind was terrifyingly clear. Unfulfilled desire screamed in every cell, intertwined with intense bitterness and rage. That bastard, Ethan Coe, how dare he toy with me like this? He ignited a fire within me, then arrogantly walked away, leaving me with a complex problem only he had the answer to. Proactively make him satisfied. Who did he think I was? A sex doll for him to manipulate as he pleased? I gritted my teeth and reached for the small key he had left on the table. Click. The cuffs opened, leaving 2 red marks on my wrists. Looking at them, I just wanted to strangle that man, but I couldn't deny it. Deep down, besides the anger, there was another feeling, a maddening thrill. This was no longer just about getting justice. This had become a battle, a psychological chess match between him and me, and I, Faye, refused to be a passive pawn. For the next 2 days, I locked myself indoors, not contacting anyone. I tried to push Ethan Coe's image out of my head, but it was useless. My body still vividly remembered the sensation of his fingers gliding over me, and the question, why, remained like a thorn deep in my heart. I couldn't lose like this. I had to regain the initiative. But how? Where to find him? His private residence or his company? His residence was too private. It would be like offering myself up on a silver platter. So there was only one place left. His company, the Coe Corporation. Yes, the most dangerous place was also the safest. I would go there not as an annoying ex, but as a business partner. I would show him I wasn't a naive rabbit for him to toy with at will. A bold plan began to form in my mind. On the 3rd day, I put my plan into action. I opened my wardrobe and picked out my ultimate battle attire. Not revealing dresses, but a perfectly tailored wine-red business suit. Beneath the blazer, I wore not a shirt, but a black lace bralette. Even with the slightest movement, a deadly glimpse of cleavage could be seen. I applied heavier makeup than usual, emphasizing my eyes and a deep red lipstick. I looked sharp, powerful, and exuded an undeniable allure. I arrived at the Coe Corporation building right at lunchtime, the busiest time in the main lobby. I didn't head straight to the reception desk. Instead, I went into the luxurious cafe on the 1st floor, choosing a window seat that offered a full view of the grand lobby. I ordered an Americano and settled in, like a huntress patiently waiting for her prey. I knew Ethan Coe had a habit of not eating out. He would have his assistant bring food to his office. And his assistant, Liam, was incredibly punctual. Exactly at 12:30, Liam's figure appeared. He carried a bag of food from a 5-star restaurant, hurrying towards the executive elevator. This was my moment. I stood up, striding quickly towards the elevator. I deliberately stumbled, then accidentally bumped into Liam. Splash! My entire cup of coffee spilled onto his white shirt. The bag of food in his hand also fell to the ground. Oh, I'm so sorry, I truly am sorry. I frantically pulled out tissues, pretending to wipe the coffee stain from his shirt. I was too careless. Liam stammered, flustered. No, it's fine. but seeing his grimace when he noticed his boss's lunch had spilled, I knew my plan was halfway successful. How about this? Consider this lunch on me. I'll order another portion for Mr. Ko. Can you take me up to his office? I have some urgent documents I need to deliver to Mr. Ko, and I can bring the food up at the same time. I said in one breath, giving him no chance to refuse. Liam hesitated for a moment, but seeing my earnest and seductive demeanor, he finally nodded. Then please follow me. I secretly allowed myself a triumphant smile. Ethan Ko, I'm here. Liam led me to the top floor, where only the chairman's office was located. He told me to wait in the reception room outside while he went to deal with his stained shirt. But how could I possibly sit still? As soon as Liam was out of sight, I immediately stood up and walked to the exquisitely carved rosewood door. I didn't knock. I twisted the doorknob and pushed the door open, stepping inside. Ethan Ko was standing by the floor-to-ceiling glass window, his back to me, one hand in his pocket, the other holding a phone to his ear. His tall figure was silhouetted against the blue sky, looking both solitary and powerfully imposing. Hearing the door open, he slowly turned. When he saw me, his phoenix eyes narrowed slightly, a flash of surprise crossing them, but immediately replaced by a deep, inscrutable smirk. He said nothing, only motioned for me to be silent, then spoke into the phone. Just follow the plan. I have a guest now. With that, he hung up and tossed the phone onto the desk. Ms. Fay, he smirked, his voice laced with teasing. Here to repay your lesson, and using this method to come see me, truly very proactive. He already knew my whole plan. I took a deep breath, trying to suppress my fluster. I strode towards him, my high heels clicking provocatively on the marble floor. I stopped in front of his desk, placing both hands on the surface, leaning slightly forward. My blazer parted slightly, revealing a deep cleavage and the black lace bralette beneath. Mr. Ko? I looked up, meeting his eyes directly, and gave a bright smile. I'm not here to repay a lesson. Oh, I'm here to give a new lesson. I said, then took out the leather handcuffs I had hidden in my purse and threw them onto his desk. The clinking sound of metal against the wooden surface was jarring. This time, I leaned close to his face, whispering, my breath fanning his skin, it's my turn to be the teacher. The air in the office grew thick. My declaration of war still hung in the air, sharp and provocative. I stared directly into Ethan Ko's eyes, trying to maintain the cold, powerful demeanor I had painstakingly cultivated, even as my heart pounded inside like a bird trapped in a cage. Ethan Ko showed no sign of wavering. On the contrary, a flicker of amusement lit up his deep phoenix eyes. He chuckled softly, a low, resonant sound rumbling from his chest. Teacher, he repeated, slowly savoring each word. He leaned back, resting against his expensive leather executive chair, hands clasped together on the desk. His expression wasn't that of someone facing a coup, but rather someone watching an interesting play. Ms. Fay, are you sure you're qualified enough to teach me? His composure somewhat unsettled me, but I couldn't back down. Whether I'm qualified or not, we'll only know by trying. I smirked, circling the desk and approaching him. Every step I took was carefully calculated to make my blazer sway slightly, allowing my perfume to diffuse into the air. I stopped right next to his chair, bending down, one hand resting on the armrest, the other picking up the handcuffs from the table. Teacher Fay's first lesson, I whispered into his ear, deliberately lowering my voice, my hot breath fanning his sensitive ear, is about submission. I intended to use the cuffs to lock his hands to the chair. This was my retaliation for what he had done to me, but I had underestimated this old fox. The moment I raised the cuffs, he swiftly grabbed my wrist. His grip was immense, clamping onto my hand like a vice. Submission, he scoffed, his eyes darkening. Fay, don't you know? In a game of chess, the one who attacks too early is often the one who loses. With a measured force, he pulled me onto his lap. Ah! I lost my balance, landing neatly on his thigh. My tight business skirt was pushed high, revealing a glimpse of my pale, slender thigh. This position was incredibly intimate and dangerous. My back was pressed against his firm chest. I could feel his strong heartbeat and something hard and hot rising assertively, pressing against my bottom. Damn it, this beast, were his physiological reactions always so quick. Ethan Ko, let go. My face burned crimson. I struggled, trying to stand up, but his arm tightened around my waist, giving me no chance to escape. Let go. He leaned closer to the nape of my neck, taking a deep breath of my hair's scent. Your lesson hasn't even begun. How can I let go? His hand, holding my waist, began to wander. It slid upwards under my blazer, caressing my bare back. His fingers felt electric, leaving a trail of shivers wherever they touched my skin. "You wore this outfit intentionally to seduce me, didn't you?" He gently bit my earlobe, his voice husky. I didn't," I denied vehemently, but my trembling voice betrayed me. "Oh, really?" His mischievous hand moved forward, fumbling with the button of my lace bralette. "Well, let me check if you're telling the truth." Click, just a small sound, but it made my entire body stiffen. He had unfastened it. My last defense for my upper body was removed. My 2 full breasts were instantly liberated, brushing against the soft suit fabric, a feeling both embarrassing and stimulating. "Ethan Coe, this is an office," I panicked, whimpering my protest. "Someone might come in." "No one will come in without my command," he smirked. His wicked hand enclosed one of my soft breasts, beginning to knead it. "Tell me, Faye, do you remember this feeling?" I bit my lip tightly, not letting out a moan, but my body wouldn't stop trembling, and down there was starting to get wet again. Just then, knock, knock, knock. The sudden knock on the door was like a bucket of cold water dousing the raging fire of desire within me. I jumped, my entire body tensing. It was Liam, it had to be him. "Come in." Ethan Coe's voice remained strangely calm, as if the person holding a girl with her chest exposed in his arms wasn't him. The door opened, and Liam entered. "Mr. Coe, the new lunch has." His sentence trailed off as he saw the scene before him. I was sitting on Ethan Coe's lap, and although the desk mostly obscured us, our intimate position was undeniable. My face flushed crimson. I just wanted to find a hole to crawl into, but Ethan Coe remained unperturbed. He even tightened his embrace, pulling my body closer to his. "Leave it there," he ordered Liam, his voice completely steady. "Get out and close the door. From now until the end of the day, no one is to enter without my command." "Why, yes, Mr. Coe," Liam stammered, hastily placing the food box down, bowing and retreating, not forgetting to carefully close the door. When only the 2 of us remained in the room, I finally breathed a sigh of relief, but then immediately tensed up again. He's gone." I turned and lightly punched his chest. "How could you? What's wrong?" He caught my hand, his deep eyes looking directly into mine. "Are you scared?" I stammered. "You want to be the teacher, is this all the courage you have?" He scoffed. "A little unexpected thrill and you're already frightened." "Ah, he's provoking me." I gritted my teeth. "Who says I'm scared? Then prove it." He raised an eyebrow. "Prove to me how you can teach me, right here, right now." He gestured to his large desk. "Using everything you've learned." He leaned close to my ear, his seductive voice. "Make me submit to you." This was a challenge, a sweet and dangerous trap. I looked into his burning eyes, then at the desk. My rationality was screaming, but my body was rushing headlong into it. My challenge hung in the air, heavy and full of traps. Ethan Coe looked at me, then at the handcuffs on the table. He showed no anger or offense. Instead, a slow smile spread across his lips, a smile both devilish and subtly doting. "Set a new assignment," he repeated, his voice deep like a cello. "All right, let's see what Teacher Faye has prepared in her lesson plan." He offered no resistance. He leaned back casually in his chair, both hands resting on the armrests, a completely open posture, as if inviting me to attack. His nonchalance unnerved me slightly, but the arrow had left the bow, there was no turning back. I picked up the handcuffs, the clinking sound of metal against metal provocatively echoing. I stepped behind him, wrapping my arms around his neck from behind. My soft body pressed against his broad, firm back. I could feel his muscles subtly tense beneath his shirt. "My lesson plan is very simple," I whispered into his ear, deliberately breathing my hot breath onto his sensitive earlobe. "First lesson, disarm the opponent." I brought the cuffs forward, looping them around his wrists, intending to lock his hands to the chair. But at that very moment, he acted abruptly. He didn't push my hands away. Instead, he grabbed both my wrists, pulling them sharply forward. I lost my balance, collapsing onto him. And then he spun the chair around, expertly lifting me to sit on his large, rosewood desk. Everything happened too quickly. I only managed a small gasp. When I regained my composure, I was sitting on his desk, facing him directly. My business skirt was disheveled, revealing almost entirely my fair thighs. "You're mistaken," he said, still holding my wrists, his phoenix eyes burning with a dangerous fire, looking straight into mine. "My weapon isn't my hands, Faye." He looked down at himself. His Peter was alarmingly prominent beneath his expensive trousers. My face flushed crimson. "This beast, you want to be a teacher, but you're too naive," he scoffed, pulling me closer until there was no gap between us. "You chose the wrong location. In my territory, all rules are set by me." He was right, I had been too confident, but I couldn't give up. "Oh, really?" I raised an eyebrow, trying to regain my composure. I used my leg to gently rub against his weapon through the fabric. Rules are made to be broken, doesn't Mr. Ko know that? I saw his Adam's apple bob slightly, his eyes darkening. You're playing with fire, he growled. I like fire. I smiled, then proactively leaned down and kissed his lips. It wasn't a gentle kiss. This was an invading kiss, a declaration of war. I used all the skills I had learned, gently biting his lower lip, then playfully flicking my tongue inside, swirling it around his mouth. At first, he was slightly stunned by my boldness, but very quickly the beast within him awakened. He responded to my kiss with tenfold passion and intensity. He tightened his grip on my waist, pulling me closer. His kiss shifted from passive to active, sweeping through every corner of my mouth. We kissed like two starving people given a piece of wood, frantically and desperately. The handcuffs in my hand fell to the floor with a jarring clatter. When we were both nearly out of breath, he finally released me. Both our lips were swollen and red. We looked at each other, panting. Is that all your lesson plan has? He asked, his voice husky. Of course not, I said, then began to act. I slid off the desk, kneeling before him. I looked directly into his eyes, my gaze both innocent and utterly inviting. Then I slowly reached for his leather belt. Click! The belt buckle was unfastened. I heard his breathing become heavy. Faye, do you know what you're doing? I'm teaching, I replied, without hesitation. I liberated his Peter, which had been imprisoned long enough. It was formidable and burning hot, even more intimidating than in my memory. Ing letter 1E9 ng distroke letter 1EA7, U learn and hin an. Guangam letter 1EB70, NTU letter 1EA5, NC letter 1EE7, an da H letter 1EB3 n learn. NH letter 1EFNG, distroke letter 1B0 letter 1EDD, NG Nate C letter 1E7, a D letter 1E5C V letter 1ECDNG, T letter 1ED9T, distroke letter 1ED9. Doyam letter 1EFT, and distroke letter 1ECF, NG letter 1EA7U. Nhin toy CH letter 1EB1M, CH letter 1EB1M, Nhu MU letter 1ED1, N Anchu NU letter 1ED1T, S letter 1ED1NG. Day Chin La KHO letter 1EA3, NHKH letter 1EFC, toy CH letter 1EDD, distroke letter 1E3, I. KHO letter 1EA3, NHKH letter 1EFC, NM letter 1EA5T, die S letter 1EF1, KI letter 1EC3, M sought. Toy M letter 1EC9M, C letter 1B0 letter 1EDD, IR letter 1ED3, IT letter 1EB, T letter 1EB, QE distroke letter 1EA7, UXU letter 1ED1, NG. Ah! A soft growl escaped his throat. He clenched the armrest of his chair, blue veins standing out on the back of his hand. I used all my gentleness and skill to give him an experience that I believed no other woman could. I wanted him to engrave this lesson into his very being, but Ethan Ko was not someone who could be easily defeated. Just as I was feeling most smug, he suddenly pulled me to my feet. Enough, he growled, then lifted me and threw me onto the desk. All the documents and papers on the desk were swept to the floor. My turn, he said, giving me no chance to react. He ripped my business skirt, so eagerly that he didn't even bother to take off my panties, instead pulling them violently to one side. Ethan Ko? He didn't answer. He only used his actions to show me who truly controlled this game. He entered me forcefully and abruptly, without any warning. Ah! I screamed, a sensation both painful and exquisitely pleasurable. The spacious chairman's office was filled only with the sounds of skin colliding, heavy breathing, and my blushing moans. He demanded relentlessly, shifting from one position to another as if to punish my audacity. Just as I felt myself about to melt into a puddle, he suddenly stopped, holding his position deep inside me. He bent down and looked directly into my eyes, which were now clear with tears and desire. Faye, he panted, his voice hoarse beside my ear, answer me. That night, why were you in Liam Ko's room? His question was like a knife plunging straight into my heart. Liam Ko, his younger half-brother. Ethan Ko's question was like a block of ice dumped directly onto the storm of desire raging within me. Liam Ko, that name was like a key that suddenly unlocked a box of memories I had tried to seal away for the past 3 months. The fire within me extinguished, replaced by a bone-chilling coldness. All the bitterness, anger, and pain I had endured turned out to stem from such an absurd misunderstanding. I used all my strength to push him away. The impending climax was abruptly cut short. Both he and I were panting, but at this moment in my eyes there was no longer desire but a blazing fire of fury. Ethan Ko, I looked directly into his eyes, my voice trembling with indignation. Just because of that, you broke up with me through a text message. He remained silent, but his complex gaze spoke volumes: pain, jealousy, and the stubbornness of an arrogant man. Do you even know what happened that night? My tears began to flow. It was Auntie's birthday party. Liam Coe was dead drunk. I was just being kind, helping him back to his room. I was in his room for less than 5 minutes. The housekeeper can even testify to that. Then what about that photo? He growled, his hand clenching into a fist. The photo of you and him kissing. I froze. A kissing photo? An image suddenly flashed in my mind. That night, when I helped Liam Coe to his room, he stumbled and almost fell. I reflexively hugged him. At that exact moment, I remembered a camera flash from the doorway, and I also remembered who was standing there. It was her, I murmured. It was your green tea secretary, Sophia Tong. All the pieces suddenly clicked into place. A trap, a perfectly orchestrated scheme. She deliberately took a photo from a misleading angle and sent it to him, a man who was already suspicious and highly possessive. He chose to believe an unsubstantiated photo over the woman who had been by his side for 2 years. I laughed bitterly, tears streaming down my cheeks. Ethan Coe, is your pride that immense? So immense that you wouldn't even give me a chance to explain, but just unilaterally condemned me? His silence was the answer. He had been blinded by his own jealousy and arrogance. He couldn't accept that his possession could be involved with the person he despised the most. Liam Coe, then what about everything after that? I continued to question, my voice already hoarse. These games, these lessons, did you want to get revenge on me to humiliate me? Yes, he suddenly roared, grabbing my shoulders, his eyes bloodshot. I wished I could strangle you, but I couldn't. Just the thought of you using these looks, these skills, with another man drove me insane. This game was the only way I could pull you back to me. He confessed, his voice filled with pain. I wanted to torment you, yet I couldn't stop craving you. I was jealous, I was driven mad with jealousy, Faye. His confession was like a hammer shattering my hardened shell. It turned out I wasn't the only one suffering. The anger within me slowly dissipated, leaving only sorrow. We, two arrogant fools, had hurt each other so badly, all because of a misunderstanding and a damned sense of pride. I said nothing, just reached up to wrap my arms around his neck and proactively kissed his lips. No longer a provocation or a conquest, this was a kiss of forgiveness, of pain, and of a love that was still completely intact. He froze for a few seconds, then responded to my kiss with fervent passion. His kiss carried regret, longing, and a dominant possessiveness. He lifted me, laid me out on the desk, and once again entered me.